Good afternoon or morning, everyone. I'm here with Jesse Dillon. Jesse, how are you today?
Jarrett, I'm great, thank you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for having me on. Good to see you as well.
Thanks for joining me here today. So today we are going to be speaking about marketing. But before we get into that, I'd just like to hear a little bit about you. Who is Jesse Dillon? Where are you from? What do you do? Give us the background.
Alrighty. Well, my father was in broadcast and television. I lived in Toronto, born in Montreal, lived in Vancouver when I was little. My dad got headhunted when he was doing a morning radio show in Toronto to New York. So we moved to New York when I was 7 years old. My dad was doing television and radio at WNBC, which for your students would be 30 Rock.
Yes.
Where Jimmy Fallon records and Seth and a bunch of them.
Wow.
So my dad back in the day was a big wig in broadcasting and TV, and it was a lot of fun growing up in that family.
Yeah.
Family of 7 kids. And then after New York, we moved to Malibu, California. My dad continued his career in television and radio, and I was a junior lifeguard for a number of years in Malibu, California. It was really fun growing up in California. Learned how to speak a little bit of Spanish. That was the second language, right, in California.
Yeah,
you learned Spanish, not French.
Yeah.
And then we moved back to Canada, and I started my career in broadcasting. I went to BCIT for broadcast communications.
Mm-hmm.
Started full-time while I was at BCIT. Started with a number of radio stations here on the West Coast. Ended up doing the top rated morning show in Canada out of Toronto. Classic Rock Q107, syndicated.
Mm-hmm.
After Toronto, I went to XM Sirius in New York.
Sorry, can you tell us what syndicated means?
Syndicated means doing a show in one city and it's carried in multiple cities.
Excellent.
Syndication.
Yeah.
We use that term in radio. I ended up in New York at XM Sirius Satellite Radio doing a morning show for 4 years, 14 channels up from Howard Stern. So weirdly kind of following in my father's footsteps because of technology.
Right.
Didn't have to live in New York.
Right.
I had a studio, much like we're in here, in my basement in West Vancouver.
Oh, really?
And so I did the show from there.
Oh, wow.
I did mornings at a very high level, received a lot of accolades, was really good at it. The business was very good to me. I'd get off the air at 9 o'clock in the morning and there was no one to play with. So to take up the rest of the day, because unlike a lot of morning guys, I just didn't go home and nap.
Yeah.
I've got an appreciable amount of ADD.
Yeah.
A healthy amount. So I built 8 companies over the years.
Yeah.
Sold 3 of them.
Yeah.
Took 2 public. And also became a member of the Canadian National Triathlon team in my spare time. And competed in some 55 triathlons and went to 4 world championships as a member of the Canadian team.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an experienced triathlete myself, having completed 1 triathlon.
We were going to do that together last summer,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not sure what happened to you there, Jesse. I didn't see you at the starting line.
No. Which one did you do?
This is Stanley Park.
How'd you like it?
I mean, I say I liked it, but at the time I didn't like it.
Which distance did you do?
Olympic.
Oh, good for you, buddy.
Oh, I mean,
So how'd you do the swim? The water's cold, right?
The water was fine. I did it with no wetsuit.
No wetsuit?
No wetsuit.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, you're badass.
I'm not messing around
The water
with that
is
nonsense.
not fine. It's never really completely warm in the ocean here. And it's in September, the Labor Day long weekend. So you would have been swimming in around 64, 65 degree water temperature, which is cold.
I had no problem with that.
Wow.
The problem for me is
That's badass.
swimming in open water and not having a pool line to follow. And that about killed me. So, but I did good in the swim. That's what I do. I hate running. I love swimming.
What was your time?
I actually have no idea.
Okay, keep going.
I have no idea what my time
and
was
then
now.
4 laps around Stanley Park.
4 laps around Stanley Park on the bike, and then you run kind of a couple laps.
Lumberman's Arch and back.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you do on the bike?
The bike was hard. That hill 4 times
That
about
Prospect
killed me.
Hill 4 times?
Ugh.
And let me ask you this. Did somebody that you would deem to be a lesser athlete than yourself pass you at any point in time?
Yeah.
Doesn't that bum you out?
Yeah. How did you? That is exactly what happened to me.
Oh, man, you'll be thinking you're doing great.
It was my friend. I thought I was way faster than him, and he killed me.
Oh, man, I've been in races where like 75-year-old men have gone by me, and I'm not 75 yet. And I've been in races where guys that are very, very large have passed me, and I'm going, how is this possible?
You know, I think the best part for me, at one point I passed a guy on the bike, and he had like those fancy helmets, the aerodynamic ones, and like a $10,000 bike, and I passed him, and I was really proud of myself. Now he eventually passed me shortly after that, but you know, that was like the high point of the race. But I mean,
what was your overall time? Do you recall?
No, I'm getting half marathons and triathlons mixed up in my head.
2 hours and 40 minutes.
I thought it was like 2 hours and 4 minutes, but that's probably not right. That'd be really fast.
If you did the Olympic distance triathlon in 2 hours and 4 minutes, you would have been about 10 minutes off the pros finishing first.
No, that was
So
definitely not the case.
I would be very impressed if you did that.
Maybe it was like 250 or something.
250? Yeah, that's about right.
That's probably what it was.
That's a good time. Sub 3 is really good.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but if it does, I'll probably do it just because I'm a sucker for punishment. So
I might do it this year.
Really?
Yeah.
You said that last year. Your track record's also good here.
I say that every year.
So you represented Canada, and you brought you started 8 companies, brought 3 public. Okay, so
two public.
2 public. One of them is Good Life Network, and what's the other one?
Halo.
Okay, so Good Life Network is one of your recent companies.
Took that public a few years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that company.
I'd formed the digital media marketing agency in 2011. I had a tech company before that. I was still broadcasting out of New York. I'd go there every 6 months to broadcast live out of the Sirius studios. And for the rest of the time, I would be doing the show from my home in West Vancouver. I was looking for a digital technology platform to carry the content because while I was broadcasting on XM Sirius satellite radio, I had a very large audience. They had 42.5 million subscribers at that time. Today, they've got over 100 million. 42.5 million listeners is a big audience.
Yeah.
That's bigger than a lot of TV shows.
Right.
So because I had that reach, I was able to put together some significant business deals with content providers, people like Dr. Deepak Chopra, who, oddly enough, wrote the forward blurb on my last book.
Right.
I wrote a book in 2009.
Yeah.
So as I started to develop relationships with content providers, world-renowned content providers, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could develop a technology platform where I could take them from having to do all these television shows and radio shows to get distribution and put them into their own digital world, right?
Yeah.
So early stage digital platforms, right?
Yeah.
There's a million out there now, TikTok, Instagram,
YouTube.
Yeah, Facebook, Google Hangouts, Zoom. But back in the day, there was nothing, right? It was just starting. So I did that. I formed a tech company with some guys locally. The technology was successful. The company was not. I bought the technology from my other partners and continued on. And in 2011, I created a digital media agency for advertising. And I had really big clients. My first client was Bill Foley. Bill owns 50 wineries, golf courses, ski resorts, chairman of Fidelity Finance in the U.S., and owns the Las Vegas Golden Knights NHL hockey team, and is a multi-billionaire.
Well, yeah, that's a big deal.
So he was my first client.
Wow.
And I was introduced to him as somebody who was smart in media and marketing and somebody who could build him a digital world for Uber people that wanted the good life.
Yeah.
And that wanted to go to his 50 wineries, stay at his hotels, golf at his golf courses, and buy real estate in his $1 billion plus properties.
Right.
He had a ranch in Montana, which I've been to, 35,000 acres. And if you have a net worth of $1 billion or more, and they allow you in, you can buy a plot of land there and have a home. It's a billionaires club.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And people in the Hamptons like to say, yes, we went to the ranch for a couple of weeks this summer. It was lovely. That's it. Period. Trust me, I met them. So Bill's problem in advertising and marketing, owning a multi-billion-dollar company, himself being a multi-billionaire and being a very successful guy, and frankly, I liked him a lot. His difficulty was having these large advertising agencies like J. Walter Thompson, BBDO, etc. None of them spoke to each other. They're all competitive, right?
Right.
Very, very competitive. So he's trying to get video from this group, e-commerce from this group, and they all hated each other, right? They were all competitive. So some of my friends that knew him said, hey, Jesse has a fleet-footed young advertising company, Smart and Digital. So I was talked into going and visiting him at his ranch. It was very, very cool. Joe Abrams, who had built, bought, and sold a company called MySpace. He sold it to Murdoch at Fox for $600 million US, sat on my board, convinced me in 2015 that the future of advertising was advertising technology. I pivoted the company in 2016, raised $33 million over time, bought 4 companies, mashed them up together, and created an advertising technology company that we took public in January of 2018 called the Good Life Networks. We got torpedoed in the summer of 2019 by Google, Facebook. If you Google what they're going through right now, antitrust in advertising.
Yeah.
We're studying, by the way, for your class.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. They're being sued by every attorney general in every state. They just got sued by France. There's a $537 billion lawsuit pending in Australia because of antitrust in advertising.
Right.
We got caught up in that, got torpedoed, and I'm currently pivoting the public company.
What's torpedoed mean? Like you lost massive value in the company?
Yeah,
Stocks,
massive value. Yeah, Google,
shareholders
basically
sold out.
Google and Facebook said, we don't want the middlemen anymore.
Right. And you guys were out.
I should say allegedly they said that.
Right. Okay.
If you Google what's going on with Google and Facebook and antitrust, particularly Google, you'll see the rest of the story.
So Good Life Network is currently existing, and you're pivoting it.
I've rebranded it.
Yeah.
Over the last 9 months, we've rebranded it to Aquarius AI.
Uh-huh.
We are looking at an asset to acquire, to put into the company, to turn the lights back on, and do a slight pivot, and use the technology that we built, not necessarily for advertising technology, but in a different area of marketing. I can't tell you anymore right now because it's a public company. We haven't press released that, but in the coming weeks, there'll be a press release about the new direction.
Excellent. And
that's another thing that anybody studying business has to know. Sometimes you have to pivot.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the business that you set out to achieve gets torpedoed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like Polaroid cameras back in the day. Nobody wants to peel those anymore. It's all digital now. And if you've got a smart enough team and you can pivot, and I hope we do, you can live another day. That happens a lot in business.
So out of the companies that you've started, 8, right? You started 8 companies. How many of them existed based on the original vision of the company, or how many, you had this idea and it changed and changed and changed and changed and ended up something completely different? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say virtually every one of them.
So they never really ended up being what you originally thought they would be?
No. Okay,
so here we are in this studio today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where we are right now and what's going on with this company?
Sure. You've got some inside information. You know things, don't you? He knows things.
Tell us what you can tell us.
Sure. For many, many years, I was Kid Carson's business manager and agent. And I negotiated all of his contracts with his radio stations. I helped him make some of that.
Can you help me?
I can.
Thank you.
I've done that for certain people over the year. I've agented them. I did a project with Deepak Chopra where I was his agent, so to speak, and put together some projects.
Wow.
So, I think some years ago, Kid came to me and said, hey, bro, I'm a little concerned about the longevity of radio. AM is all but dead. Of course, somebody that's got a father or mother that is involved in AM radio will disagree with me, but that's fine.
It's only a handful of them out there.
Yeah. Radio's like a star that burned out 4 billion years ago. You can still see it, but it's over. Right? And,
that's good.
And FM radio is going through that now, right? I think it's, I'm not telling you anything that you couldn't research, but in my humble opinion, FM is on a significant decline. I think FM overall is losing 10% per annum a year.
Wow.
Kid came to me about 5-7 years ago, saw the future and said, I'm really concerned that I don't want to end up being 50 years old broadcasting in a modality that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a great line in there by Eric Hoffer who once said, in times of change, the learners, your students, will inherit the earth, while the learned, those that have stopped learning, and consider themselves learned, will find themselves perfectly equipped to deal with a world that they no longer recognize.
Yeah, that's great.
So Kid is a learner. I said, okay, I'll go on that journey with you. And so we started looking at building an app. Anyway, to make a long story short, we incorporated a company 4 years ago called Gemini Digital Corporation. We've recently taken the Kid Carson brand, which is owned and operated by Gemini. We've done a deal with Stingray Music. They own about 111 radio stations coast to coast, and Stingray Music and lots of hotel rooms, 400 million subscribers online. And we said, we will license you the Kid Carson Show. So Kid went from being an employee to being a co-owner of a company and a co-founder that's now licensing his show to Z95 and Stingray. Over and above that, there are other accoutrements that came with that deal. And so you're sitting in Gemini Digital Corporation's headquarters, which features the Kid Carson Show. There are other brands we're running out of here now. And that's a private company, but we're redesigning radio. We're re-engineering podcasting. We have a technology platform that we're launching this summer. It's called a DSP, a demand-side platform that connects advertisers and podcasters with dollars.
Right.
Okay? So it connects advertisers to listeners and podcasters to dollars. And it's all artificial intelligence, and that's all part of where we're sitting today.
So
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So we're in the middle of COVID pandemic. Podcasting is similar to radio. You know, video content took over for a long time, and it seems like podcasting, I mean, Joe Rogan just signed a $100 million deal a couple of weeks ago, biggest deal we've seen ever in that space. Why is it that podcasting is getting so much play, but radio, which isn't that different in the sense like it's talking, you know, with some ads sprinkled through and you know, there's not visual content there. Why is it that we're seeing such a rise in podcasting and such a dive in radio?
Well, one, it's new, podcasting, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
It's not new. It's been around for 10 years, maybe 12.
Yeah.
But it's achieved critical mass in the media. Joe Rogan was really the tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell will say, in podcasting's evolution.
Yeah.
Two, it's more mobile than radio.
Yeah.
You've got to be in your car. You've got to have, you can go, I guess you can go into a workout facility. But listening to radio, you're listening to what they're offering at a specific time. So Kids Show airs from 6 till 9.
Yeah.
If you want to hear Kids Show and Z95, owned by Stingray, they need you to tune into FM, which stands for frequency modulation. They need you to tune in either on TuneIn Radio or on a radio in your car. They need you to listen when Kid is actually on the air between 6 and 9 to tick the rating box so they can sell advertising.
Yeah.
Podcasting doesn't care.
Yeah.
Podcasting doesn't care if you listen while you're sleeping, listening to tones or waves that help you sleep. It doesn't care if you are listening to a pre-recorded podcast from a year ago. They don't have those same issues. Radio is an ancient modality that was started by Marconi over 100 years ago that hasn't changed. And podcasting is cool, right? It's got technology, it's got advertising technology coming. So it's a lot like radio, but it's imminently available when and where and how the user wants it. Yeah. Where radio is still asking you to listen while you're on the road in the morning, driving in. And there's another thing. That's called out-of-home tuning, right? When you're in your car. So historically, shows like the Kid Carson Show have always garnered the biggest audience at a radio station during drive times. Yeah. Morning, 6 till 9, afternoon, 3 till 6 or 3 to 7. With COVID having come and gone and the whole world being turned upside down, and at least 25% of the workforce in North America now going to be working permanently from home. Twitter, CEO said, work from home forever if you want, never come in. Yeah. This is the defining moment in work from home. Yeah. Right?
It's a tipping point here, as Malcolm would say.
Big tipping point. So what's that going to do to radio? Yeah. Because radio's always relied on out-of-home tuning. Yeah. They're scared shitless right now. Yeah. So podcasting is having its moment on a number of areas.
Okay, so I want to hear a little bit about, you've started some companies, you built some brands, you've raised some money. Mm-hmm. How do you, from a sales perspective, how do you get in a room with some guys and start raising capital? How do you sell the vision? How do you sell the values? How do you get in front of these people and get the cash out of their hands?
Well, I could tell you how I do it.
That's what I want to know. I want to know how you do it.
There's other ways to do it.
Because you capture a room, right? When you walk in, it's like, people know you're there.
Yeah. Raising money is not easy. Tragically, I've had to learn how to become good at it. It's not something anybody wants to do, right? It's just not. It's not really fun. I think I think it's a necessary evil if you're an entrepreneur and you're building companies. I think years ago there was probably a little more integrity in the markets, maybe than there is today. I think in the world of Trump, I just don't see a lot of integrity in the money markets anymore. I don't. Having said that, doesn't mean you have to give up your integrity to raise money.
Right.
It just means you're going to be sitting in rooms with people that you don't really like, the kinds of people you don't really want around your children, and you're asking them for money. Okay?
So you're kind of selling your soul to the devil here.
Not necessarily. You've got to be careful not to. That's another thing. So how I raise money, number one, I'm a good communicator.
You built a career on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you've done.
I'm a really good communicator. And I specialized in putting together radio shows built on teams.
Yeah.
And I was always number one in any market I was in. And I pride myself on surrounding myself with smarter people, better people than me, and playing up at every stage in life. I was named On-Air Personality of the Year by the ACT Awards here in Canada. I won a gold for Best Personality in the World from the New York International Festival of Radio. Was once featured as one of the top 5 on-air personalities in the world by the BBC. Gave all that up on the 5th of May, 1997 to become an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since. So deep down inside, I am a humble entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very good at communicating and reading a room. So if there were a bunch of people sitting around this board table, generally speaking, I could tell you who the assholes are, who are going to try and stick needles in the... And people, when you're raising money at a certain level, aren't applause meters for your deal. They're there to poke holes in it.
Right.
They're there to rip you to shreds in front of all their friends to prove how, as an analyst, I'm so much smarter, and I'm going to save all of you guys from losing all of your money in this asshole's deal. So you've got that going against you. Yet you've got to remain cheery and jovial and ride through all of that. So you've got to develop a very thick skin. You don't want to become an asshole because there's enough of them in the money markets. You want to remain true to who you are, be your beautiful self. But if I can give you any advice, if anybody watching this in any of your classrooms is ever going to raise money, you really need to know how to communicate, and it really helps to be able to read the room.
Yeah.
Number one. You've got to have a great business plan, and it can't be full of shit, right? You've got to have a really good business model. You've got to be sold on your business model and hopefully passionate about it. Because I believe if you're passionate about what you're doing, eventually the money will come. You don't have to take my word for it. Study the Happiness Project at Harvard. It was over 20 years. Sean Acor, who's a best-selling author, wrote the book. He and his cohorts at Harvard studied, I think, a 20 or 30-year history of students graduating, broken up into 2 categories, those that wanted to become rich and fast, and those that just wanted to be happy and chase their passion in life, no matter the material reward. Guess what happened? Those that chased passion and happiness became wealthy.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but a high preponderance of them. These guys that just wanted to become rich, not so successful.
Right.
So don't give up your integrity. Know that it's hard raising money and everybody has to go through it. But if you've got a great idea that you're passionate about and you can communicate that and believe that, and it's backed by sound business sense, you've really flushed the model out as best as you can, might not be successful. Some of my projects, weren't successful when I raised money against them, but they believed in me.
Right.
And weirdly enough, it's, a lot of what happens in raising money is still personality driven. Yeah, you've got to have a good business plan based on science, mathematics, pro formas, financials, all of that well thought out stuff, but they still a lot of times bet on the personality.
The CEO or the founder, whoever that is, the team. That's
right. So it's really important that you're likable,
Right.
I think Donald Trump is one of the biggest dicks on the planet, personally, right? I'm not a fan. I think he's one of the biggest assholes that this world has ever procured. I had to do an event with him once.
Really? Did you give him any advice on his hair?
I wanted to. I hosted an event at Mar-a-Lago years ago before he was the president.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me to come down to Mar-a-Lago, host an event. I said, what day? March 7th. Nah, I can't do it. Why? It's my wife's birthday. What if we put you and your wife up first class, fly you in first class, and put you up at the Ritz in Palm Beach for 10 days and have a little, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's a way to make a deal.
I did it. And they paid me too. A nice chunk. So I showed up at this event at Mar-a-Lago. We have a dress rehearsal. It's a fundraiser. Trump is the chairman. He owns Mar-a-Lago. The night of the event, they must have spent millions of dollars on jugglers and clowns and fire and elephants and tigers and bears, all there. Seriously. You're raising money for the Unicorn Foundation, which was to benefit autism, children of autism, and they probably spent every nickel that they raised that night. Because in Palm,
the fanfare,
they've got a magazine there called, I think it's called the Black Attire magazine. It's all about who can put on a better fundraiser.
Oh, right.
So I know I'm going to be introducing Donald Trump that night, long before he was president. So I read his book, which at the time was Think Big and Kick Ass. The worst book I've ever read. Illiterate.
Do you think he actually wrote it?
Yes, I do.
He didn't have a ghostwriter, obviously. Should have had a ghostwriter.
No ghostwriter could be that bad. I had a ghostwriter for my book. No, I knew he didn't have a ghostwriter because you know what? His ego wouldn't allow him to.
Right.
His narcissism said, I'm going to write this book. And it was written, I would say it was written by a 5-year-old, but that would be an insult to a child. And I'm not going to do that. It was by the worst book I've ever read, mind-bogglingly bad. But I got one thing out of the book. And that was to do a business deal, people need to feel like they like you.
So you think people like him?
I'm not saying that. You asked me about raising money.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that man or woman that's going to write a check for you or that institution or that fund, it's going to want to like you. It's going to want to like your deal. It's going to want to get emotionally attached to it, and it's going to want to like you. Right?
Yeah.
You asked me to do this today. You're not paying me. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't like you. Right? If I thought you were a dick and I thought, man, what's in it for me? I wouldn't have done it. But I like you a lot. I really do.
Oh, thank you.
I think you're a really cool guy. So when you asked me, I did it. So the one thing I took from Trump, you got to like someone. Now, I'm not a fan of Trump. I can't stand the guy. I think he's done more to disrupt the plan. I mean, just look around you. You know, I don't have to convince you. And people that vote for him say, well, he's good for the economy. Well, he's killing the world. I'm a huge proponent against Trump. But I did take that one piece of advice from his book, and it's true. You asked me about raising money. Yeah. That's a component to it. Be prepared, have your shit together, numbers, all that other stuff. Be passionate about your deal. But they've also got to like you.
You know, it's interesting because I invested a very small amount of money in your company, Gemini. And one of the main reasons was after, being friends with Kid and then meeting you was because I thought you were a really cool guy. And I liked you.
Yeah, well, you're a terrible judge of character.
That's the truth of the matter. I mean, the only reason you're on the show today is because I ran out of everybody else. Everybody else said no. So here we are.
I knew that. I completely knew that.
As you earlier
but
referenced.
It's been lonely in the home with the virus and everybody's gone now.
You're just thankful to talk to somebody.
It's just me, and I'm watching Oprah reruns, and I thought, this would be a chance to get out. So they drove me down here, took off my bib, cleaned up the spilled pablum, and here I am.
You've been washing your hands ever since you walked in the room, hoping you don't get the virus from me.
Yeah.
That's great. I love the comment about being likable because that's a huge aspect of raising money. Absolutely. Because if people don't believe in you, they're not going to invest in you, no matter how great your idea might be.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like you're going to walk out of here and say, okay, how do I make myself more likable?
Right.
I think it comes from liking people.
Right.
If you're in marketing or advertising or looking for a career in that, and you don't want to be phony about it, but you really got to take an interest in people. You've really got to like people.
I spent about 10 years working in the luxury hotel business, and a lot of my role was to deal with celebrities and to chat with them, take them to their rooms. My department would manage their stay. And I think what the biggest learning from me from that experience was, like, how do you chat with someone? How do you not be too interested where they think you're creepy, but you're interested enough that they're engaged in conversation with you? And understanding the balance of how to actually speak with someone is, I don't know if it was ever an art, but it seems like it's a lost art. I remember my dad giving me, how to win friends and influence people. Like, read this book, son.
Brian Tracy?
No, Dale Carnegie.
Oh, Dale Carnegie. Wow.
Dale Carnegie. Read this book, son, and this is how you're going to, deal with people for the rest of your life. And for me, it was formational to understand, building relationships is really what gets deals done.
It's really interesting. I mean, there's a whole science into what we're speaking. And I grew up in a family of 7 kids. My dad was in broadcasting, was very much a rat packer, so was not home a lot, was out partying with his buddies. Mm-hmm. singers like Robert Goulet and Dean Martin and big names back in the day. Maybe it's because I come from a family of 7. Maybe it's because I got involved in broadcasting. But I've always found it really easy to be around people, and I've always really liked people, and I found that that's come very naturally for me.
Right.
I haven't really had to work at trying to get people to like me or me trying to like people. I just kind of roll with who I am.
Right.
And, like I'm not the prime minister of the country, but I've gotten along with people, and I've taken a real keen interest in people.
Well, you're a step above the prime minister of the country. I just want to make that point.
Thank you.
But I think what it comes down to is the authenticity of who you are is what draws people to you, right? I mean, people can see through the phoniness of someone, and that's when we talk about marketing or social media. I mean, that's one great thing about social media is, there should be this level of authenticity to it. That's what people want to see.
And that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Only you've said it much better than I could.
Well, that's why I'm on this side of the table.
That's why you got the big mic. You've got the captain's position. I'm over here as...
I'm in control of the ship.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent. I think that's a really good point. And I think that's a really good point for us to end on is that, the likability of you as an individual for raising capital or selling a product or whatever it is, whatever it is you're doing, applying for a job, asking a boy or a girl out on a date. I mean, that's really what we're effectively doing here.
Yeah.
Is that likable aspect of each one of us is so important.
And what a great way to go through life, being passionate about other people, comfortable with who you are, comfortable in your own skin, learning good communication skills, and just being who you are.
Yeah.
Don't have to be anybody else. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
That's a very cool proposition.
Yeah. It sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I think it's one of the truest things we can say.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch American Idol or America's Got Talent or The Voice, I mean, what's the most common thing you hear? Right?
Yeah.
Just be yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's that uniqueness about that person that we
so
love.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great chatting with you today.
Good to see you, bud.
Thanks so much.
I think you'll do okay on the investment. Take it a little longer. That's the other thing. Not everything happens in our time frame, right? Everything has a gestation period.
Yeah.
But I think you'll do okay.
Patience is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jesse Dillon.
Okay, buddy.
Have a great day.
Cheers.